You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.
I said, hey, welcome to the Man Cave Happy Hour. I said, hey, welcome to the Man Cave Happy Hour.
Bob, settle down.
We're gonna drink a fine whiskey and smoke a really fine cigar.
All right, it is time for Happy Hour. It is the Man Cave Happy Hour. Whiskey, cigars, spirits, the stories that go along with it. I'm Jamie Flanagan.
Hey, good afternoon, good evening. I am Matt Fox. Welcome to the Man Cave.
Tuesday, Matt, what does that mean?
Tuesday means the week has started. That's what that means. The week starts at 5 o'clock on Tuesday.
And it is a tasting Tuesday with Joe Louis Bourbon.
Yes. And we thoroughly look forward to this day and this time.
Yes. So, Michael Shore from...
Yes, I'm here with Bob Reedy, our special guest, who I'll introduce. So, I think this is our... Is this our fourth? Is this our fourth episode?
Is that a bartender in your pocket, or you just have?
That is a bartender. I never leave home without the best bartender in North America at my disposal, right? So that's what this is all about. All right, so tonight is kind of special because you guys haven't met all these guys who are here, but I have. When I think of the best bartenders I've ever known, I think of Bob and Leo, Tom McGuire. Jason, I don't know as well, but I'm about to get to know because I know if it says bacon tastes good, how bad can he be? But, Bob, I met Bob probably 15, 18 years ago when he was at Prohibition. And I think, Leo, and you were there.
Yep, that's correct.
You were a young buck then. And he just, it was amazing. Not just the quality of the drinks, which were all really, at that time, and the idea of a handcrafted cocktail was kind of a new thing, that someone actually put work into it and used, fun ingredients and tools. But it really became his personality. And you know what? Hopefully it's going to come out and you'll see. So, Bob, I'm going to let you, Leo, and Jason.
All right. Well, I've worked with Leo for quite a long time. And my best
How you doing, cowboy?
Hey, buddy. And I just met Jason just before I retired. So these guys are both. They got great palates and they know all about the mouthfeel and the mash build and everything. I'm pretty much just a show off that doesn't know much, but I talk a lot. And people seem to listen. So
didn't have a choice back then.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, Jamie, you guys want to ask Bob some questions, ask these guys. I think we're here to talk about, really, I think the topic is what makes a great bartender.
So, Bob, do me a favor. Pronounce your last name for me. Is it Rudy?
Rudy.
All right. Fantastic. So you're a retired bartender. What is retirement like for a bartender who has, and Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, you had shared with us that his last drink poured was auctioned off for charity. And, and to be able to auction off a drink like that for $7,000, what does it take? You're in retirement, Bob. What does that mean when someone actually ponies up for $7,000 for your last cocktail?
Can you hear us?
Michael, can you repeat that one for me?
He's okay. So Jason was telling how when you retired at the big event, the last card went for a chair. What's that for you?
Honestly, it's coming to light. A lot of people didn't know it, but it's probably one of the worst bartending nights I've ever had. I had such a panic attack. 45, 50 people looking at me. I had to go to the bathroom. I felt like throwing up. The next day afterwards, I stopped. I got off social media, and I hadn't been on it until about 2 weeks ago. I found that I'm not. What is it? I don't know. I get panic attacks.
Well, look at this guy in action, right? We're looking at pictures of you, action shots.
one of the things that I've always kind of relied on, because I'm not a sports guy, and we don't like to talk about politics and all this other stuff at the bar. So I'll tell stories. I've had quite an illustrious dark side of my past and crimes and fun stuff, and I bring certain tools. I don't know if you got any video here, but you know, when
Your
you show
belt?
up with a, I didn't get the belt together. It's all in pieces. I'm redoing it.
And we're going to talk about the bat belt. We really are. But tell us about some of the trends that you've actually recognized over the past number of years, 40 plus years. Some of the trends that you've witnessed. And what has changed a little bit, or one of the biggest changes?
Yeah, when I started out, I started out in 77. And back then, when you would make an old-fashioned, you would make it with a big chunk of orange and one of those red dye number 2 cherries and some whatever, Seagrams or Jack Daniels or Jim Beam, whatever you had.
Sure.
And as it progressed and I kind of feel like the whole world was there for me, because as I got tired of making it one way, they come up with a new plan. So that led into the green apple martinis and martinis and all of that nonsense. And when the cocktail thing came in,
I'm on a boat.
So we got them both locked up there. So craft cocktails is what he was getting to, and he was saying that it really changed from just your standard wells of a beam, and it has progressed, and the fancy cocktails have gotten fancier as it has gone on, and it's what has that done to the taste, Jason, Leo? What do you guys think? Moving from just the wells to like the different more premiums have done for the cocktails.
Well, moving it that way, though, I think is just you open up flavors, you got better quality. But you got to remember that we're moving back towards what bartending used to be when it first became, when we first started doing it. Back in the late 1800s, bartenders, were esteemed as much as lawyers and doctors because, well, you had to have a license to dispense it. An actual whole government state license and everything. So it was more medicinal back then. And cocktails are a purely American thing. We're the first ones to put actual different things together. For whatever purpose. Not just throwing wine and water. Yeah. It's for standards and practices, so you don't go blind. But what got me, because I grew up in a biker bar. I grew up at a dive biker bar.
There's if you have to get out to Detroit, Leo, because there's a place out here in downtown Royal Oak, and it's one of those dive bars that you can go to. And back in the day, back in the 90s, it was the place. It was the dive bar. It's Gasoline Alley, and it's something that we've been to a number of times. Have you ever heard of Gasoline?
I got a couple of good friends from Detroit. Just never been, but I always wanted to go.
Excellent. Yeah, when you get out here, see your friends. Say, hey, let's go to Gus's. And then try to take over the jukebox, because that's where it's at. So
nice. Well, for me, though, when I started learning how things were put together in cocktails and that there was history there, that's what grabbed me. Bob tells stories, but everything indicative of being a bartender is a story, isn't it? And that's part of what you guys do as well here is, the stories that go with everything. And it grabbed me as a passion. It totally did. And it changed my entire career. Yeah. So I've been doing this 20 years now. So
where are you at these days, Leo?
These days I hunt until they reopen all of us,
Okay, fair enough.
But I'm still with Red Phone Booth and have been for 10 years now.
So you and Jason then work together, is that correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Excellent. So what is that like?
Bob was my partner for almost a decade.
Wow.
Gosh. That's awesome.
In fact, he was talking about the belt. And I know when he gets back on, I'm sure he'll go.
We're back. Sorry. I don't know what's going on here.
There he is. No, they're just touching on the belt there, bud.
Yeah, I saw you. I saw you pulled up, Leo. I saw you pulled up some accessories there. So,
yeah, Bob has his, but this one's mine.
Okay, you have a similar one.
So it's a belt. All right, so
just like he had an old gun belt.
Just
like his. we have different things on it, but there's of course, the ice pick because we hand chop ice at work.
Yeah.
Ice pick, striker for torches, of course, waiter's tool. My bottle opener, which I'm Filipino, so had to have a butterfly knife bottle opener.
If you ever get out here, when you get out here, they're not going to let you across the border with that. You know that, right?
Now
Let me across the border the first time. I mean, going back to that, I think coming into the country, I thought was a big of a problem.
Now that's a knife.
That's a knife.
Yeah, that's my ice knife. It actually is a lot similar to the shape of the bolo I used back home in the Philippines when I lived there. And so it was nostalgic. And I was buying a new gun, and they had the knife counter up front, and I said, well, they got me. I had to have it. And I got my tomahawk here. I got my combat tomahawk that I've carried for years. But that's what I use actually to saber champagne bottles with.
I was going to say to keep the riffraff out, but
No. That's what we got security for.
So Bob, did you start the trend with the bat belt or with the belt that that Leo's been using now? And you kind of brought him along to utilize the belt?
I was working at the Ritz-Carlton, and the Salmonier there had a leather, like a Leatherman pouch with his wine key on it. And then it's probably a lot easier if I had the belt, but it's all in pieces. It's all over the house. I got this bottle opener from David Cassidy from the Partridge Family a million years ago as a kid, right? And I wanted to incorporate these two things into my uniform, but I was at the Ritz-Carlton, and I really couldn't put a lot of stuff in my pocket because I had ashtrays in my pocket. I figured somebody smoked a cigarette. I take a cigarette, put the ashtray out, cap it, give a fresh ashtray. It's always a trick, Kept a lighter in each pocket so I could light two people's cigarettes once, and if there were three of them, I'd juggle. So after a while, this belt thing came along. I've always been a boy, and I've always liked Batman. And so I built the thing into the buckle that would hold the card, and
awesome.
It just kept coming and coming, and people liked it, so I kept at it. Killed my back, but give the people what they want.
So is that what inspired you to start working with fire more often, or you lighting
How
the
much did
folks'
it weigh?
cigarettes?
How much did it weigh, Bob?
17 pounds.
Wow.
It's a heavy
17 pounds, but it's
a heavy son of a
3
bitch.
hours and bad package. It's like more.
Yeah, so you're lighting people's cigarettes. Is that what inspired the usage of the fire with your cocktails, or is that something that just kind of progressed over time to start adding smokiness to the drinks that you were doing?
Did you hear that, Bob?
No, I couldn't hear that one.
The question is, did cigarette smoking inspire all the use of smoke and flame?
No, it was smoking something else, honestly. But,
Fair enough, Bob.
but I figure if you were going to use a torch, why would a bartender want to use like a chef brulee torch to light wood on fire when he could put dragons on it and make it look like a fire-breathing dragon? It was let's see how much fun we can make it,
Nice.
My cup would always say, might be whiskey, So for me, it was all about the toy. Kind of like my guitar playing. I got a million pedals. I don't really know how to use them. I don't know how to play guitar that well. But boy, I got a lot of gear that's fun.
And I used to. That would be the first thing that I would do when I'd bring somebody new in. It would be like, Bob, where's your belt? And that would be. It would leave like, oh my God, that guy's amazing.
All right, so Jason,
it opened a lot of doors for me. It really did.
Yeah. So Jason, Leo, when you're pouring a cocktail, or someone's trying to pour a cocktail at home, what's something important that they forget about generally?
In a cocktail?
Yeah.
Measuring?
Yeah, quantity.
I have no idea what you mean, but my liver's keeping up with me, so we're good.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's enough. It's a 5 count, right? That's
yeah, something like that. When you're making a cocktail, I mean, if you don't, it's like there's only 3 ingredients. If bare bones, there's only 3 ingredients in old fashioned and Manhattan, but people mess it up all the time. I've had more bad ones than good ones, and most of the time it's because people won't measure them out. They're too sweet because they had too much sugar in them, or too boozy. Well, they have a lot of booze in them. I'm not saying too boozy. I like booze, but it's just, if I'm having a cocktail, I want that cocktail balanced from the moment I had the first sip till the end of the cocktail. And
agreed. You gotta everything has to be in perfect harmony to have a great cocktail. Otherwise, might as well just pour the
booze
thing in a glass. You just go with it without ice, without anything.
You think about it when you're making a cocktail. You put you got your amount of alcohol. Then you have, like, if you're doing old fashioned, you're doing your alcohol. Then you get your bitters. Which I don't. There's a lot of stuff I don't do that Bob does. He sets things on fire and tries to. He's making sure the insurance policy's paid up on the bar because he's doing things on fire.
Opa! Yeah, why not?
And I'm sitting here and I blend my own bitters and I do stuff like that, and I make my own different syrups and simple syrups. So the thing is, when you're making a cocktail and you don't get those measurements, they don't have to be exact, but pretty close to exact. The dilution of the water or the dilution of the cocktail when you stir it, I mean, you're going to come up with a not balanced cocktail. It's going to be lacking or missing something.
So Jason, you're at the Red Phone booth, yes?
Yeah.
And you were telling me earlier a little bit about how you came to be at the Red Phone booth. So I keep wanting to say Red Door, Jamie. Why? Because
we gotta. There's there's a blind pig in Detroit called the Red Door.
Yeah.
We have one in Atlanta too, and it's a completely different place.
Yeah. Different game.
But Jason, you're originally from Kentucky.
Correct.
Right, and you actually lived about a few miles away from where Joe Louis bourbon is actually distilled at, correct? Originally.
Right. It's in Lawrenceburg. It started off, I guess, in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. I'm from Danville, Kentucky, which is about 20 miles away. It's Anderson County, Kentucky.
So help us understand how did you become to be at the Red Phone booth?
Oh wow, I was working for Hilton. I was actually one of the resident bourbon experts at Hilton downtown Lexington. Okay. I have a couple friends that live here in town. I'd come down here many times within the last year, and I really liked the town. I wanted to move down. So I wanted to find I couldn't transfer with Hilton. So I was looking for something that would be comparable. So I actually Googled private clubs, and Red Phone booth came up. And I went through them. I went through the whole thing. I read their dress code, and I walked up to the club, and I didn't have a code to get in. The doorman was standing there. It had to be Scotty, one of our security guys.
Don't you need a code to get in? You need a code to get in. You need a code to get in.
Yeah, you need a code to get in. You got to go in the little Red Phone booth, dial the phone number.
As he tells you, though, the way he presented himself actually got him through the door.
Yeah, so I knew the guy worked there because he had a towel hanging out of his back pocket. I'm like, this guy must work here. And I look at him and say, hey, look, man, my name's Jason. I don't have a code for a door, but I'm a bartender from Lexington. I wanted to talk to the bar manager. He goes, okay, give me a second. He walked in, and I can't confirm. I asked the bar manager about her. Her name's Ellie. I said, so apparently he pretty much told Ellie, hey, this guy's out here. He's pretty well put together. You should talk to him about a bar job. So, and my thing was, I walked in, I just handed her my recipe book. I said, hey, this is me, and I'm a bourbon, I'm a bourbon guy from Kentucky.
Yeah.
And I kind of emailed, I sent her email off my phone, resume, and then the very next week she goes, you're hired? It's like, cool.
Very nice.
What was best about that is that, I didn't know who the hell he was for 2 weeks. I'm the head bartender there, and I'm responsible for training everybody. And your last cycle is actually through my well, on my position on the bar. And one day he just shows up. I'm like, no, I saw his name on the schedule. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? No. Then look, then he comes in, and I'm like, man, he's tall.
How tall are you, Jason?
I'm 6'4".
And how tall are you, Leo?
Okay.
5'2". My girlfriend's 6'2", so whatever.
Well done.
But so no, it was kind of funny because I knew he was on the schedule for 2 weeks and I hadn't seen him at all. But I'm glad because when he comes on, and he's always been an asset, always been a great guy behind the bar, and I know that while I'm working on my end, if he's on, you fit in right with the team. I know things are taken care of behind me.
Nice, thank you.
So, can we talk about what's going on now? Like with all these bars shut down, and how are you guys doing?
I'm all right, but the company that did put in for us for unemployment insurance. Fortunately, for the rest of the team, I was more worried about the guys than I was me. That I was fortunate enough after doing this for so long, I had some put away to be okay for a while. And as far as food and everything went, people were really scared when this first happened. But I also both my parents grew up on farms, and we're all outdoors and outdoors with people. So just in collection, I probably got enough provisional food for 2 years just in storage, from all camp gear and everything.
He's got it saved up from Y2K still. He was betting on Y2K. You got the Y2K rations.
I was a kid. I was an Army kid during Y2K, so I actually do have some MREs back there left.
I think my statement was I just became Y2K compliant. Now this happens.
What's direct deposit?
Right.
I don't know.
So,
baby.
But Bob's got it made though. He was already unemployed, retired, and he's sitting on the boat.
That's right.
Yeah. We're raring to go back to work. That's for sure.
The guy I got out of it.
Yeah.
So guys, now talking about cocktails and making a cocktail, how important is the glass itself?
Glass really depends on what you're putting in it. Because some glasses are designed for certain things. Like, for example, a snifter designed to hold the aroma in, and the bit of angel share that you lose, because even though it's out of the air, it's a very minuscule amount, but the alcohol does evaporate.
Right.
But alcohol does carry flavor with it. So when you sniff it through a snifter, your olfactory senses aren't bombarded as hard. But also when you sip, it'll get into your mouth and to the top part of your nose, which most of the time when you actually get the nose off a cocktail, you don't really go through your nose, but you kind of breathe through your mouth and out your nose, and you get more flavor that way. You can discern things that way better.
So you're kind of breathing, you're kind of tasting it out of the back of your nose almost. When you breathe it out, it's coming. Your olfactory senses are right there, but when it hits the back of your throat, you're not tasting it in your throat. You're tasting it in your nose almost. Is that a fair conception?
Absolutely correct. So, but certain glasses are designed for things like that. The whiskey tasting glass, either kind of shaped like a tulip.
Yeah, those Glencairn.
Only without a stem.
Glencairn glass. There's one right there.
Yeah. So or you guys got regular rocks glass, which is my preferred one, but I prefer my my spirits neat most of the time.
This one was clean, so I grabbed it.
I drink bourbon out of a paper cup. It didn't. I mean,
actually, we have in the parking lot.
Paper cups, plastic. I don't care. It's bourbon. Come on.
There's a reason why red Solo cups sell so many. I'm joking. If you want to be pinkies up, I mean that's fine. I mean,
Southern boys.
I heard it.
You can take the boy out of Kentucky, but you can't take the Kentucky out of the boy.
No, I tell you what, man, I've been to so many bourbon tastings and been to so many barrel picks and stuff like that, and where, people talk about, when you smell the glass and you're tasting the bourbon and people, I love my favorites when they say, the suggestive selling is the don't you taste the nutmeg in there? I was like, yeah, because they dumped all that nutmeg in there, you know.
It tastes like shaking hands with an old friend.
All right, so you guys have not had a chance to taste Joe Louis bourbon, but I'm going to make sure that we get your addresses and we get some samples sent to you because
That'd be awesome.
Thank you. That'd be great.
because it's actually it's not available yet in Georgia directly, although you could order it online for shipping. But,
Did they already release it in Detroit?
yes, the first it was released this month, right amid COVID-19. In the first market, and that's why we're doing these because we can't do any other events or tastings.
Now is it?
So we've been doing conversations with this, and in 3 weeks, it's already in over 300 stores, retail stores.
So is it? It's a nine. Now I know the original was an 86 proof bourbon, almost like a Old Forester type. Is this more like a?
This is 90 proof.
Okay.
The mash bill is 66% corn, 14% rye, and 20% barley. It's crafted in pot stills, so no heads or tails. Those are all discarded. It's just the heart. And then it's aged for 2+ years in Char 3, New American barrels.
Char 3.
Yeah,
Okay.
Char 3.
So straight medium.
Yep, straight medium. But part of the difference is, aside from the ingredients, it is the pot still and the fact that, it's also distilled in southwestern Virginia, right over the Kentucky line. But the water, the natural well water, is actually a higher limestone component than you get.
That's Davis, right? Davis Valley.
Davis Valley, yeah.
So they got two distilleries with two separate water sources. So they're making it at both places. Are you doing like a?
No, they're actually only making this now at one place, the Saltville facility.
Nice. Okay.
And that's where actually the other location is higher up on a mountain, but the Saltville location is lower, and it's got more access to. There are 3 different wells. I've been there and I've seen it, and it's a pretty spectacular operation. Actually, that the plan was always been at some point to have a little tasting room investor operation there, yeah. So that's this bourbon is I originally sourced it for some other distilleries. And also to create the Bourbon Bond Investment Fund. And when we went down to do tastings and to choose, because there were a lot of options and a lot of combinations, there was a wheat whiskey, there was some different variations, that we came back to this and did a tasting, went up to Maine with several, in fact, actually Michael Muir, who was on this show a couple weeks ago, who's a certified stave and thief bourbon steward. Mm-hmm. He moderated the tasting panel, and we had not just the owners, but we have a number of people, including the president of Golden Gloves of America, because that's part of this was the sports marketing component, and things, and kind of all agree. We did a lot of comparisons. So,
well, I know I'm really interested to try because my father was a boxer. And I know Jason and I both box. So, I'm kind of excited about it. I do have a question, though.
Have you guys got in the ring and beat the crap out of each other, or is it more recreational?
No, just behind the bar, not in the ring.
Yeah, it's behind the bar. I know. Yeah, my inside the ring and mat fighting days are way over, man. I got a kid in the Marine Corps now. I'm tired. I'm done.
Working on my John Sullivan mustache. I mean, it's like you can't.
I think Bob's hitting the beach over there.
So my question is,
he's going to the bathroom. Do we need to stop video?
I'd stop video, Michael. Yeah.
Seriously.
There's a man cave first.
Oh my God.
You know what? Mother Nature gave us bourbon. Might as well.
Yeah.
Yeehaw, Bob.
There was a line that I heard years ago. I was out on my boat with a neighbor who had just retired, and I asked him what was he doing, and he said, "Well, I'm spending many, many hours every day turning fine, expensive wine into urine."
That's called retirement. Yeah.
That's kind of my motto at the bar. Is like everybody's like, "Oh, that's art." What you do is art, and this and that and the other. And I said, "Well, great," because the funny thing is, my art turns to pee in a few hours.
That's right. It's chemistry. It's not art. It's chemistry. It's science.
So,
Yeah,
Leo,
Enjoy it now because you might not enjoy it later.
Leo, what's your question? You said you had a question.
Yeah, I do. So I also understand, like, you have local source grades. But the barley was imported out. Was it imported from another part of the country, particularly, or was it imported?
It's imported. Yeah, I don't actually know the actual source, but I will find that out. But yes, it's imported. Yeah.
I mean, because the way it looks, it says like everything was locally as much as possible.
Yep.
But if there's not enough barley to go around, then you got to go elsewhere. So
yeah, and I think it's also the distiller, because they sourced it before I came aboard there, but they did do, they went out and tasted and searched and looked for quality and consistent supply. The corn is, because it's in farm country, so the corn literally comes from a farm right down the road, and they mill it locally, and the same thing for the rye. So it's kind of cool.
Right on.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you guys to try Joe Louis bourbon because you haven't tasted it yet, and I'm excited for you guys to get a bottle. But in general with bourbons, what makes a brand what makes somebody gravitates towards a certain brand and not gravitate towards others? What are some of the tasting things that you see with bourbons in that regard?
Honestly, it's a lot of it, to be honest, is more marketing trend where it goes, but also a lot of it has to do with what people like. There's things like that were available back in the early 90s that were very, very common and popular, in markets that aren't quite as known now. For example, would be Weller Reserve. At one point, it was a $30 a fifth, shot down to $10. A fifth. Really, because I think they just removed the age statement. Where if I'm not correct, there might be more factors to that. But that was probably near 20 years ago, and then bartenders, we started to go like, well, this stuff's still good juice. So we started hoarding the shit out of it.
Yeah.
And I had a nice side business, running that inside the city lines, because you could get it inside the metro, but you could get it out where I live outside. And I buy a bunch of it, and either gift it or sell it to my bartender friends. And I paid taxes on that. If anyone's listening, you're saying.
Of course you did.
It's one of those things. What I ask the people when people ask me for a bourbon, I ask them a couple of different questions. One is, first and foremost, how do you drink your bourbon? Are you drinking it in a cocktail? Do you want it? Are you drinking it on the rocks? Are you drinking it neat? There's really three types of bourbons. You got rye bourbons, you got wheat bourbons, you got more traditional bourbons. Because you get the high rise, there's so many different types of bourbons out there. You got to think that, there's over, 500 bourbon labels, but there's really, 14, 15, maybe major distilleries that produce them all.
Mm-hmm.
So you get into a situation where you ask them, what they usually like. If they're going away from their brand, what they usually like, you're going to try to find something comparable. And by goodness, there is something comparable out there. If someone says, well, I like hotter proof bourbons. I like higher proof bourbons. So you're probably going to go more over bottle and bond. You go 100. There's several different questions. If you want your bourbon in a cocktail, there's so many good bourbons that are great cocktail bourbons. It's like good example, Maker's Mark. That's I like Maker's Mark. But
you're allowed. You're from Kentucky, so you're fine.
Well, I have history with Maker's Mark, but we go back a long way. We're like this. I have history of Maker's Mark, but my thing is that Maker's is one of those. It's a sweeter bourbon because it's wheat. It also has a really short finish, so it's really good in a cocktail where it won't over. What's that?
It's quick. It's nice and easy. It's quick.
And it just, I mean, it's solid bourbon. If you want something more like neat, man, I got a pocket full. I got a pocket list full of bourbons that are just really neat.
See, my favorite, Jason knows it and everything, but they're not necessarily his all the way, But it's what people like what they like, and everyone has a different reason. But you always see, as far as what's popular, it goes in trends. It always does. But people will always hold to what they like. Like my father's a Scotch man. To this day, put a bottle of Chivas in front of him, he'd be hard to get rid of.
Well, the other thing is price. I mean, now with the way the bourbon market's exploding right now, and the price. I tell people this story all the time. Is that I remember it was around 2008, maybe 2010. The Hilton, I wound up becoming the bartender there. I had a shot of Pappy 23, split it with my wife. I had a shot of Pappy 23, and I was so mad. I'd never paid that much before for a shot of bourbon. It was $23.
And
that was Buffalo Trace.
I mean, now that 2 ounce pour would be $250. I mean, just saying.
Inflation's a bitch, bud.
Yeah, inflation. Yeah.
I was gonna ask you guys at what you have at the Red Phone booth. Do you have any like those Pappies or any of those ridiculous high ends? Are they worth it? Are they? I am so cheap.
Beauty is in the eye of the beer holder. I mean, the thing is that if you're on a prestigious kick and you're like, I've had the pinkies up. I got pinkies up. That's how we know it's a fancy party. Okay. It's all got to follow the same 7 rules to be bourbon. It's all got to follow the same rules to be bourbon. Then it comes down to personal preference. The William Heaven Hill 27 year is $300-$400 a pour. Wow. I think it tastes like turpentine. But that's someone's favorite bourbon, though. It doesn't matter because what's not my favorite bourbon might be Leo's favorite bourbon.
True.
So I don't drink anything under 90 proof. I don't usually drink anything under 90 proof. To me, I want to taste my bourbon. Hey, Basil Hayden's great. I much rather have the old granddaddy came from.
You say Basil Hayden. You say Basil Hayden. My go-to on the Basil Hayden is the dark rye.
Okay.
On the Basil Hayden, it's one of my favorites right now. But I actually have a question for Bob. In retirement, oh, he's not listening right now. So,
Bob, are you listening?
Yeah, Bob. Hey, Bob.
Yep.
What's your daily go-to right now?
Here.
In retirement, what is your daily go-to bourbon drink that you're enjoying?
Either Four Roses or Evan Williams. Lately, my liquor store's been out of Four Roses, so I'm a fan. It really doesn't matter too much to me. I got an easy taste bud, and I really don't. I mean, I can get behind anything if I drink it long enough. It seems I like it. It's easy. I drink a lot of it. I like it.
That's a fair statement.
The guy that is distributor for Randall is Randall Roberts. He's our Four Roses guy. We became good friends, and I've sold that ever since Prohibition as my well liquor. And I just make it part of my spiel. I say when I reach my right hand now, we've got 2 rails. Usually it's vodka, gin, rum, tequila, triple sec like that. Well, I start the second rail with Four Roses because that's what my right hand is going to reach for. And I'll tell people, you know what? If I reach down and there's no Four Roses there, guess what? I'm going to go for another bar. I'm not going to work there anymore. It's just part of my shtick. You know what I mean?
Love it. So Evan Williams
I can drink anything.
Yeah. we've actually, the Man Cave Happy Hour, we like to taste different bourbons, give our own taste profiles. Jamie and I haven't sat next door to each other in a number of weeks, and we're looking forward to the point where we can do this again. But, if we'd love to invite you guys back to do a Man Cave.
Be awesome.
Absolutely.
And just talk about a taste profile of something, whether it be Evan Williams or Four Roses. And Bob, we'd love to have you back just to kind of understand, being a bartender for as long as you have, your palate has to be very well entailed as to what to look for. And on the
44-year veteran.
Man, wow. that's a long
Started
time.
when I was born.
Yeah. Well, fourth generation professional bartender.
Fourth generation. Okay, fair.
Yeah, he had had an ancestor that was actually a bartender during and after Prohibition.
Yeah. There's a lot of stories that we'd love to have come out and just kind of discuss about some of the experiences that you've had over your 44 years of being behind the bar. And you're not just a bartender, you're also a therapist. People will come to you guys, Jason, Leo, people will come to you whether they're grieving or they're celebrating. I can only imagine some of the stories that you guys have in regards to being what you do.
It's actually working the hammer well all the time. I don't get to talk to a lot of people as much, but what I do, it does remind me that why I got into this in the first place.
Stories, believe me.
I got plenty. But but I do. It's part of what is the allure of the job. It's being a bartender. Really, it's less about the drink, man. It's more about the people, and you can never take that away.
Absolutely.
The experience. That's really. I mean, the drinks. Making a good cocktail is making a good cocktail, but really, if you're selling an experience,
absolutely,
that's what you are. You're the experience. If you came there and you made their favorite drink better than they've ever had it, maybe you didn't make it the best they ever had, but your personality or your charisma or the way you handled yourself behind the bar and talking to them, your presence behind the bar, maybe that is what made that cocktail the best they've ever had.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, this is the best old fashioned you're ever going to have. And if it's not, it won't be the worst.
That's a great disclaimer, my friend. That really is.
No. You got to say it first, and then you make the cocktail. I mean, we all when we're working, Bob makes his old fashioned his way. Leo makes mine, and I make mine my way. And I mean, we all have our little different ways we do it. And when I put it, I say, they say, "Do you make good old fashioned?" I said, "Best one you'll ever have," and then I'll make it. Hey. Make that cocktail. Like name that tune. Make that cocktail, and you go and you make that cocktail, and you're like, "There you go." And it said, "Best one you've ever had," or it won't be the worst one you've ever had.
I know you guys want to get back to work because it's. What's that, Bob?
A lot of my shtick too that comes into it is make them show. Let them see how cool we are and how much we can show up. But then as soon as you get a chance, you can say, "Let me know a little about where you from, where you coming in from," because we're in a area of downtown Atlanta where we get a lot of tourists. So I think it's very important to include them into it and make it feel like you're interested in them too. And then it gives you a chance to catch your breath a little bit and talk about something different. But like I said, with me, it's almost like it's a script. I don't really have to talk to anybody. I find out a little bit about them, and then a funny story that they'll like to hear, and then I make them a fancy drink and set it on fire. And the next thing you know, we're best friends.
Right.
So it's a lot of it's listening too.
Bob made my first drink when I came to the Red Phone booth before I was employed there. The bar manager, Ellie, was like, "Hey, sit down. We'll buy you a drink." Okay. And Bob went through the paces. He set stuff on fire. He was doing this and that and the other. He was doing, what? And I had 3 or 4 different interviews there just to make sure I was going to be a right fit. I don't think I ever had a bar bill there. I know I tipped him, but I don't think I ever had a bar bill at the Red Phone booth. But,
what's up, man?
Privileges, fellas.
Yeah. So yeah, he made me my first. The
I
first
may come in and
old-fashioned-
apply.
The
I mean,
first drink experience I had at the Red Phone Booth. Bob actually made made for me. So it was pretty cool to my first experience at the Red Phone Booth before I became employed there, and the way everybody acted behind the bar and the personalities that were behind the bar, and I was like, you know what, my ego will fit just well back there.
Yeah.
My swagger fit just fine back there.
Peace up, A-Town down,
To
baby.
the bar the first time.
So, I know you guys want to get back to.
Jason when he retired after.
Go ahead, Bob. Go ahead.
Yeah, when I first saw Jason after he was like the first night I walked in and he was behind the bar. Like I'll be honest, my mind's going. I forget things. I don't know where I know people from, but I knew that I knew this guy, and that I ran up and gave him a big hug. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad you're here. And I didn't even know where I knew him from.
Wow.
But I knew that we had a connection. So I think that's an awful lot of it is family.
Yep.
Bob was so awesome too, because we were getting crushed. The first night I worked there, like the first night, and I was a training bartender. I mean, technically I was, hourly. It was my second day training, and I get in there, we were getting crushed. And Bob has these 3 things on fire. He comes up right in my hip. He goes, "You're effing amazing, man. I love you, dude, man. I love you." And then of course the whole night was over. And that was and he looked at everybody. He goes, "You're getting full cut tonight. You're not training. You're not training as a bartender." So my second night there, Bob and Parks, the other bartender at work, they made sure I got full cut of the bar instead of training pay.
Wow.
That night. But Bob, he had 4 things on fire. He came up and he was like, "Hey man, you're amazing. You're awesome, dude." And he just gave me a big hug. And after the night was over, man, and it was the first time I'd ever been working in a situation like that where people weren't intimidated by me, by the new guy, and they made me feel so welcome. And to this day, there hasn't been anybody there that has made me feel management staff, Greg, Steve. They've always made me feel like I was part of something. That's the point. Is it makes me want to come to work, and it makes me want to get crushed. Mentally challenged.
Welcome
to the team again, bud.
Thank you. Yeah. That leads me to my question. Last question I have for you guys, is, I know you want to get back to work. Bob, I know you're retired. You're enjoying your boat. I see you towing around the river. That's awesome. The lake is treating you well. But fellas, you want to get back to work. And what are some of the things that you might see different with this whole social distancing that we're going through right now? What are your thoughts of the future of the bar industry? Of people hanging out at the bar, because I can't wait to get back to the bar personally. There's just so many things we want to do.
I haven't wanted to drink a beer in a bar so bad than when I was underage.
Yeah, no. So what I say is that also just it's gonna be different, but I think in a good way. Honestly, I try to be optimistic about it. Where, again, it's not exactly resolved, the situation that we're in, right? And the nature of that particular virus is that it evolves. So eventually it's going to happen again, and that's just the reality of it. And I know I lost my physician to SARS back in the day. When he went back to mainland China, and he never came back. So, and it's the same type of virus. It's evolved over the years, of course. So I think what I hope is for our industry is that maybe at the very, very least, we have the appreciation that we can be there as people, because we've always gathered. We're a social being. All of us. Even those who like being isolated need some contact to somebody. And bars have always been a gathering place. Taverns, restaurants, all the roots come from people being together and gathering and doing what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully, I think that we'll have more appreciation with that, and that, well, yeah, damn it, man, I want to go back to work. I miss my team, and I miss going to work because I got a lot of stuff to do out in my property, but it ain't like having a job. It's not the same. And it's not. Also, you miss the people you're with because I'm with them more than I am my own family. I'm with them almost 80% of the time that I have. Mm-hmm. And you form those bonds, and they become your family. Yeah. And I miss them all. So,
and thank you for that. I really appreciate that, Leo. There's, our bartenders, our servers, they live their lives on, taking care of people. And, there's a friend of ours close here in Detroit that created a website called Go Tip 'em. Not sure if you've heard that or not, but bartenders can go in and register themselves, and then folks can go in and tip their bartender as if, they pour themselves a drink at home, and then you go and you tip your bartender a couple of bucks, right? And that is actually represented throughout all 50 states in the U.S.
Yeah, we got that here in Atlanta too.
Yeah. So, there's just so many nice things that, folks want to do for each other, but they love their bartenders. So thank you for doing what you do. Because you keep us humble, you keep us happy, right? So, and thank you for the drinks and the conversation.
Cheers.
Cheers, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
But boy,
cheers.
And I can attest that these bartenders have made me happy over the years.
Thanks, Michael.
So if somebody's in Atlanta, if somebody comes to Atlanta and they want to go to the Red Phone Booth, if it's a private club, how do they make their way there? How do they get that code?
Well, if you're staying in downtown Atlanta, all the major hotels, ask the concierge. Otherwise, if you come down to the Red Phone Booth, ask around to the bartenders. Or hey, you know what? Find one of us.
Yeah, find one of us.
We're not really hard to notice walking around downtown Atlanta.
Right on.
Fortunately, they're all very reachable on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
So the passcode is 86.
Phone number up on this web. I don't care.
Yeah. So the
worst case scenario, if you don't know the code and you can't find it from us, if you can sing like a Britney Spears song for Scott, he'll let you in.
Yeah.
Oops, I did it again.
Even if you're a guy,
work there, and you dress up right,
He let me on.
Oh,
the code is 8675309.
That's it.
So far removed.
today, but tomorrow,
I change.
Right.
and it's not open today, so you're okay.
So
tomorrow it's hit me baby one more time.
We're not exactly private. We do have memberships in it, but we are exclusive, and that's for a reason. I mean, the first speakeasy kind of thing. It's not impossible to find the code. It's not.
Oh,
it's challenging, but that's for a purpose because there's a certain crowd that goes in there, and it's not really meant for the affluent or not or whatever. Actually, our president Greg Grant put it the best way: we're a bar for ladies and gentlemen to be served by ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. So act appropriately, come appropriately, and there's a certain thing. Yeah, we have a dress code. It's also for a reason. You tend to act right when you're wearing a suit. No, or at least a collared shirt, and if you don't, well, you got to deal with Scotty. You don't want to deal with Scotty.
So no open-toed shoes, nothing.
That's a safety reason.
Yeah, no hats, nothing. Come and act appropriately.
We've amended that recently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with our opening at our location in Nashville, it's middle of cowboy country, and which is funny because Nashville gets dispensation, but here in deep South Atlanta we don't because I love to wear a cowboy hat when I walk in. I mean, whatever, it's fine. So, only thing to now outlaw for headwear for gentlemen is caps.
All right, fair enough.
Like baseball caps and things, like trucking caps, baseball caps, and driving caps, your fedoras, trilbies. Yep. Cowboy hats, they're all fine now.
So our godfather here in Detroit is one of our cigar enthusiasts. He wears a fedora all the time, so he's allowed in.
Absolutely.
So, I'd love to learn more about your cigar programs that you have going on there, in Atlanta and in Nashville. So, I'd love to reconvene with you guys and just have more of a conversation and just kind of make this a regular thing with you. What do you think?
Absolutely. I would love that.
Cool.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, thanks, Bob.
Awesome.
I'm in.
So
He's
it's
in.
just,
Hey, I want to
I'm
thank
looking
you, Bob,
forward-
because I hit Bob up today just last minute and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he
He's
said,
on
let
a
me
boat."
round up the posse. So I thank you. Love you, brother.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man. I love you, Michael. I love you. We've been together a long time, you and me.
Yeah. Longer than I would like to admit to.
right on.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
for Joe Louis
But I'm
Bourbon,
really curious about the podcasting thing. I want to do that myself, so this is great.
we can help.
Well, if you're going to do it yourself, you need to figure out how to get on Zoom.
Dude, I've been on Zoom. I've been on Zoom 5 times this week, and I didn't have a problem.
I think you've been flagged as a security risk. That's what it must be.
Yeah,
It must be. You're flagged as a security risk.
that's me.
I can't wait to
The other end of this thing, man.
try to booze.
Oh, my
Try
God.
the Joe Louis
Business
Bourbon.
end of it.
What? Oh, look. The business end. All right.
Now,
I'm a
JoeLouisBourbon.com, find Joe. Now, here's Joe, right? Hashtag here's Joe.
Where's Joe? Here's Joe.
Where's
Where's Joe? Here? So, it's out there, mancavehappyhour.com. You can find us on the socials. Gentlemen, I cannot thank you enough for the time this afternoon, this evening, the camaraderie and the conversation. Looking forward to the next time.
My pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank you,
absolutely.
guys.
All right.
Thank you all. Thank you all
You
for
and
having
me,
us.
Matt. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Pleasure. Cheers.
Cheers.
Next
Thanks, everybody.
Tuesday.
Till then.
And on Thursday,
Bob.
we'll be doing bourbon unboxing.
Yay.